And it's crucial for organizations to adopt a structured third-party risk management process or a program to conduct a proper due diligence for third parties. So a framework would typically consist of, comprehensive guidance on how the organization is going to approach, its third-party risk management process. What are the constraints? What is the approach? And, what is the expected outcome of the program?
Welcome to ThoughtHive. My name is Neerja, and this is the place for all things technology, as you already know. On today's show, we have Anand Mohan Nair joining us all the way from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Hello, Anand. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Neerja. Thank you for having me.
Very happy that you can join us. So what we're talking about today, Anand, is something called third-party risk management, vendors and risk management programs. So let me start with this. Why must organizations have third-party risk assessment programs in, today's interconnected business landscape? What are the potential risks and consequences of neglecting this step?
Today's competitive business environment, organizations typically, the main objective is to prioritize processes, create value, reduce costs, and focus on their core competencies rather than ancillary activities. So a lot of organizations outsource repetitive processes or specific processes to third parties, either for saving costs or if they require skill sets that are beyond what the organization has currently, they outsource functions to specialized or niche third parties for performing those activities. So while being a key business enabler, outsourcing comes with inherent risks to the organizations, but primarily from a cybersecurity standpoint. So there's a very high probability that your data or information can be compromised from the third party's end, simply owing to the fact that they may have controls or not have sufficient oversight the same level as the organization does. And there's also a dependence on availability. So sometimes your business functions and services can suffer due to any outage or unforeseen contingencies at the vendor's end, right? So issue of third-party management has become a key topic, primarily because of the ever-changing business landscape. And it's crucial for organizations to adopt a structured third-party risk management process or a program to conduct a proper due diligence for third parties. That is, from selecting a third party to onboarding them, assessing their current profile, assessing current third parties in the organization, reviewing contractual obligations and clauses, and various continuous oversight on the third parties. So some of the risks I could foresee from neglecting third parties would be, you would expose your organization to various cybersecurity risks and breaches from a third party engagement standpoint. There's always potential for a data breach or data leakage that we spoke about from the third party end, simply because they don't have adequate controls from their cybersecurity standpoint. There's always a potential for business disruptions owing to lack of contingency planning from the third party side, or lack of preparedness from their controls posture. And third parties usually may not have the same may not be subject to the same level of regulatory scrutiny that your organization may be subject to, and consequently they may not have sound controls to protect your data the same way you can. And let's not forget the legal and regulatory implications of outsourcing. So in case of a breach from a third party end affecting customer data or customer services, the parent organization could be held liable and could be heavily penalized by the regulators. And having a sound third-party framework will help you maintain oversight of third parties. That is, the responsibility of keeping track of your third-party engagement and ensuring that they have adequate controls to protect and safeguard your information.
Well, thank you for laying that down for us. Follow-up question: how can organizations ensure that third-party risk assessment programs remain up to date and adaptive in the rapidly evolving landscape of cybersecurity threats? And are there any emerging trends or technologies that can help this?
Mm-hmm. Well, the first step would be obviously to establish a sound third-party risk management framework, which would help an organization rationally manage and operationalize third-party risk assessment. So a framework would typically consist of, comprehensive guidance on how the organization is going to approach, its third-party risk management process. What are the constraints? What is the approach? And what is the expected outcome of the program? So a typical framework would contain an approved criteria for third-party pre-qualification. So pre-qualification is the first step. So most organizations have hundreds or maybe thousands of vendors, depending on the scale and complexity of its operation. So not every vendor needs to go through a third-party risk management program. Not every one of them need to be assessed. So pre-qualification would help us filter out the critical ones, the ones that we really need to focus on and proceed to the next level. Once pre-qualification is complete, the next step would be to perform a risk classification or a risk tiering of the third party to assess how critical they are to your business operations. And subsequent to establishing the criticality, the next step would be to perform actual risk assessments, where you send risk questionnaires and get information about the controls that they have at the third party's end, along with appropriate evidence just to support that control assertion. And the outcome of this process would be to, identify a key set of risks that could impact the business outsourcing agreement and work with the vendor to mitigate those risks in the interim. And the framework could also cater and define frequencies for conducting reassessment. So periodic reassessment of the third party is also important because, as long as the contract is active and the third party continues to deliver service year on year, over the year, there could be changes in the organization's control environment. There could be expansion in the scope of services. So it's important that we perform periodic reassessment as well on third parties that are critical. So ideally, depending on the scale and complexity of an organization, so the more prominent organizations, especially organizations that have a, international footprint, dealing with diverse range of vendors across various geographies, they ideally should have a dedicated vendor management office established or a VMO function. So this would be a unique business function within the organization, which would have supervisory and oversight responsibility on its third-party engagement, and they would report directly to the leadership committee. So this would ensure a holistic due diligence of third parties because it takes in risk inputs from various other functions. So we are focusing only on cybersecurity, but it's also equally important to understand the operational risks, the financial risks, the legal risks that the organization is getting exposed to from an outsourcing. And coming to your second question regarding the emerging technology trends, most organizations are now looking at utilizing GRC solutions, that's governance, risk, and compliance solutions, to automate and ease the third-party management workflow. So GRC solutions helps in standardizing workflows, codifying questionnaires and templates, and it overall improves the turnaround time because sending questionnaires, getting responses, follow-up reminders, etc., can be automated to a great deal. And it also helps you map all the risks that you discover to a standard controls library. So this allows efficient communication of risks to business stakeholders in a business context rather than in a technology context. So that's one of the key areas. And there are also some third-party intelligence scorecard solutions that are available, which provides independent security metrics of an organization's performance. So they collect these various key metrics from independently available sources or publicly available sources and amalgamate them into a single report, which can be utilized by an organization to see the risk profile of third party. So this would help in automating and optimizing your risk assessment process in a great way.
Got it. Anand, in all my conversations with experts from Aegis cybersecurity, right, they mention regulations and compliances. So let me ask you, can international regulations and compliance requirements impact third-party risk assessment programs? How are organizations navigating these complexities and ensuring compliance across borders? And most importantly, where does Aegis come into the picture?
So yes, regulations do play a key role in shaping an organization's approach to third-party risk management, or even cybersecurity in general is heavily influenced by regulations, depending on what industry and what sector you're in. Most cybersecurity regulations mandate that the organization, performs third-party risk assessment, and they classify their third parties and ensure that they have sufficient oversight of their third parties to ensure protection of data. That's number one, and to ensure service availability or service uptime, especially for services that are directly impacting the customer. So there are various regulations, such as you have the European Union's GDPR, which is the data privacy regulations, and you have CCPA, FCPA. Here in Saudi Arabia, we have the SAMA CSF, that's the cybersecurity framework from the banking regulator, which is primarily applicable for all banks and financial institutions in this country. Then you have the New York NYDFS CRR Part 500, to name a few. So all these regulations, one thing that they have in common is the stringent requirements for the organizations to maintain sufficient oversight and due diligence of their third parties, to ensure primarily data protection and service availability and address supply chain risks. So these are the key areas. The key to ensuring compliance, how do you ensure compliance with these regulations? The best way is the first step or the starting block would be to develop a comprehensive third-party risk management framework. Utilizing and benchmarking to standards such as ISO 27001 2022, NIST SP 853, NIST CSF, and NIST SP 800 161 which talks about supply chain risks. And then the next step would be, once you develop the framework, it's important to integrate that framework with a comprehensive GRC solution where you codify the workflows, and which in turn gets integrated and added on to third-party risk rating agencies to get real-time intelligence on third-party's risk exposure. So this is the way for an organization to have an agile and secure third-party risk management program. So we are one of the leaders in this industry with over 15 years experience, and we have intense experience in developing third-party cybersecurity risk management frameworks for clients across various geographies, across various industry verticals. And we can tailor a third-party risk management program that's unique to the organization's requirements. So not every organization can have a one standard approach. So there are various challenges, various requirements based on the vertical, based on the industry that you're in, based on the regulations that are affecting you. So we can help in tailoring a specific program that's unique to your organization. And it doesn't end there. It doesn't just stop at the program level. So we also perform end-to-end risk assessment of third parties. So we engage with our clients in a managed services model where we staff the vendor management desk and take the end-to-end third-party cyber risk process under our wing. Or alternatively, after implementing the framework and the solution, we can help train and orient the internal cybersecurity stakeholders to manage the process themselves.
Well, I think we've established on this series that Audris Cybersecurity is an excellent cybersecurity partner to have. So thank you for your support, Anand, and thank you for speaking with us today.
Thank you, Teja. It was my pleasure.
And to everyone watching, we'll catch you on another one. Bye-bye.